The other day we discussed 4 causes for the cultivation of jnana, and then what immediately concerns us is one of the causes, namely kilesa duribhava, the state of distancing impurities or purification of the mind. Out of the many ways available to purify the mind, the best is the practice of satipatthana. Buddha himself has admitted in this way, boldly assuring the practitioners in the beginning of the great discourse on mindfulness as ekayano ayam bhikkhave mego saddhana visuddhiya and so on. There's only one way for all beings, including the Buddhas, silent Buddhas and Arahants and attained people, to purify their mind. And that one way, ekayano, is none other than the practice of mindfulness of the 4 aspects of existence, namely kaya, vedana, citta, dhamma, these objects. Out of these objects, to note the most obvious object as it arises. In this way, the Buddha has assured, for the inspiration of all faithful beings, boldly assuring that satipatthana is the only way, at the beginning of the great discourse on mindfulness. So this expression, kilesa duribhava, the state of distancing or removing farther and farther away these kilesa impurities, as the cause for the cultivation of jnana, knowledge. So, out of these many ways, sure and certain and uncertain ways, one has got to follow the certain way, the sure way. That is the work of the wise. Now the yogis who have come here, walking this path, striding along this path to purify their mind, it's very encouraging to see them doing this. They are also wise. So if you just think about your own life, you are improving your own life with the practice in accordance with the Buddha's wishes. Now with the practice of satipatthana, you can distance these impurities which can arise if you are not mindful. So in this way, you understand this statement. One of the causes for the cultivation of knowledge, as has been given by the famed Lady Sierra in this country, who lived more than 100 years ago, a great literarian known throughout the world, got the title of Doctor of Literature by the British government. He gave this course for the cultivation of knowledge, namely Tiheduka Patisandika. That means one has to be accompanied, one's rebirth linking consciousness, Patisandhi, is to be accompanied with Tiheduka, 3 wholesome roots. Now, when one is reborn, there is this consciousness, together with this consciousness produced materiality, planting as a seed, and in this seed are included the 3 wholesome roots he took, namely alobha, adosa, amoha, which are the opposite of lobha, which are the converse of lobha, dosa, moha. Now as for these alobha, non-greed, adosa, non-hatred, amoha, non-delusion. Non-delusion means opposite of delusion, ignorance, that means knowing, knowledge. The reverse is lobha, dosa, moha, the unwholesome roots, the 3 unwholesome roots. So the rebirth linking consciousness, one's rebirth linking consciousness is accompanied with these 3 wholesome roots, which serves as a cause for the cultivation of jnana. So, when the rebirth linking consciousness is accompanied with the three wholesome roots as a seed, in that we have to note this jnana, the element of jnana, that is amoha, non-delusion, which is synonymous with jnana, is one of the hetus, one of the roots or causes. This is involved in the three wholesome roots, which accompanies one's rebirth linking consciousness. So that inherently one has the power to reason out and think positively in all aspects. And if one does or performs any merit, good deeds, all these good deeds are accompanied with knowledge. And in textual language, it is known as jnana sampayutta citta, the consciousness accompanied with jnana. And this has been said by this famed Lady Sayadaw, which is also very realistic. Also, my own view is not to take particularly or specifically this Ihetuka Patisandhika, the rebirth linking consciousness accompanied with the three wholesome roots, as the cause or as one of the causes for the cultivation of jnana. Because in the original text is given this Pinya Samvadanika Karma, that means karma actions done leading to knowledge in all one's lifetimes, wishing to possess knowledge in future existences. In this way, one has performed or accumulated a spiritual perfection of panya, wisdom. And with the result that in the future existences, one kusala deeds tend to be accompanied with knowledge. So this statement of Lady Sayadaw can be said to be included in this text, in whatever is said in the text, the four causes of the text. Furthermore, in the text is given this, in respect of these 7 bojjhangas, factors of enlightenment, the second factor, namely Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga, the investigation states, the enlightenment factor of investigation of states, investigation of the true nature of things, synonymous with panya. This panya is bhavana maya panya out of practice, experiential wisdom. As the Buddha has given one thing as the cause for the cultivation, for the happening of this Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga, the enlightenment factor of the investigation of states. Now, most of us perform good and bad deeds, kusala, akusala, or sometimes mixed kusala, akusala. But when one strives to incline one's mind towards the performance of kusala, let kusala deeds happen in me instead of akusala, then this will be a cause for the cultivation of knowledge. And this will be the cause for the happening or possession of Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga, the enlightenment factor of the investigation of states. So such person is inclined towards the arising of kusala or performance of kusala. But if you leave it to chance or let anything happen, be they kusala or akusala, then of course this will not be a cause for the arising of Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga. Only if one is inclined and one takes priority this practice of kusala, will one be able to possess this second factor of enlightenment, namely Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga, the enlightenment factor of the investigation of states, which is synonymous with Panya. And that has been given as one cause by the Buddha. So that if one has not cultivated or possessed this investigation of state, second factor, then one will come to possess it. And if one has already possessed it, then one will be able to strengthen this investigation of states. And this has been said by the Buddha. In these commentaries are given the 7 causes for the arising of Dhamma Vicaya Sambojjhanga, the investigation of states, or Panya or Jnana. And the first of the 7 things is Pariposagata, that is asking, questioning, discussion. If one does not know, one asks. By asking, one clears one's doubt, one's uncertainty. If one does not know, then one comes to know. If one is not clear, one clarifies things. If one is uncertain, doubtful, then these doubts, uncertainties will be cleared. Thus, this happens to be a cause for the cultivation of knowledge. This fits in very much with the Westerners because they are very inquisitive. They inquire. As I said, that the West analyzes, whereas the East sympathizes. So in this fashion also, they ask question all the time. Because they are not clear, they are doubtful, they are uncertain, so they have to ask. However, in the practice, if there are too many questions, this may be a disturbance, a hindrance to the practice. But since one has to ask questions, if one is already obsessed with it, then to satisfy such people, allowance has to be given, a leeway, a kind of a leeway once a week is devoted to the question time. Otherwise, it will be just like a dam, when the water comes on, and then if the dam is not opened up, then the dam might break. So as not to break the practice, they are given this leeway once a week devoted to the question time. So in this way, this happened. This has been given in the commentaries as one of the causes for the cultivation of knowledge. And if it's not clear or doubtful, then one has got to ask questions, which will conduce to knowledge. This is good, especially for the Westerners. The second one is Vottu Visaka Kiriya, that is improvement of internal, external cleaning or purification or cleaning the internal things and external things, living in a clean way, internally and externally. As for internally, bathing, cleaning your hair, cleaning your nails, cutting your hair, nails, internal cleaning. All these things are internal cleaning. And as for external cleaning, washing your clothes, having nice clothes to wear on, and then cleaning your room, cleaning your bed, and so on. So in this way, cleaning externally and internally can lead to clarity of mind, which is conducive to the deepening of concentration and cultivation of knowledge, and hence the cause for the arising of Dhamma Vicaya Sambojjhanga if it has not already arisen, and to strengthen it if it has already arisen. So in this way, purification of internal and external things leads to knowledge, which is quite realistic. The reason is also true especially in the Western and developed countries. They're very good at it. They can keep their place, internal, external things clean, although there are exceptions. And they can live in this clean way. This is quite unique. Because the people, especially the Westerners, are able to comply with the second cause, the internal and external cleaning, besides being inquisitive, they are said to be fulfilled with these two causes in order to cultivate knowledge. And as for the third one, Indriya Samatha Patipana. That is, Indriya means controlling faculties. There are 5 controlling faculties, namely Saddha, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. 5 of them. And they have to be in harmony, Samatha. They should be balanced. And one should practice in this way. Now when the time comes, in the course of the practice, one is bound to empower one's faith. One's faith will become powerful, so that it becomes a controlling, to the power of controlling faculty or controlling power. That means it has the ability of controlling other states, because this plays the role of controlling power in Indriya. And so is Viriya in time. This is also very important to cultivate this exact energy. But they have to be in balance. They have to be balanced. For instance, the Saddha and Panya, faith and wisdom, should be balanced, should be in harmony. If Saddha is an excess, then that can lead to blind faith, Maudha Pasana, which is very dangerous, because you believe blindly. For instance, this following blindly the cult of personality in the West and many places, so that they are cheated, they are deluded, misled, and they landed into great loss, suffering, death even. So this is the undesirable consequences of the excessiveness of Saddha, faith. Now, the Panya, which has to be balanced with Saddha, also is necessary to be in balance with Saddha, because if the Panya is weak and Saddha is strong, then, as already said, one can be led into blind faith. And if Panya is too strong, that is, one reasons too much, especially in the practice of mindfulness, instead of sinking into the moment and deeply connecting with the object at once, one indulges in conceptualization, intellectualization, and analyzation, and all that sort of thing, asking oneself questions: why is it, how is it, and so on. Then this becomes, because one has too much of wisdom or reason, then this can disrupt the practice. So these two things have to be in balance, the Saddha and Panya. Again, there's a Viriya and Samadhi needs to be in harmony with each other. If one exerts too much, one is too much, enthusiastic, too much chanda, too much zeal, if the enthusiasm is in excess, then one may overshoot the object, one may become restless, distracted. So it has to be in balance with the Saddha. Now if Samadhi, if Samadhi concentration, on the other hand, is in excess, then one can doze, because one is casually following the object without exertion of energy, slackness and laxity, then this also is not good for the practice. In the case of the Viriya, it has to be in stages, not to stagnate in the middle, but to go up and up. That is the nature of Viriya. Instead, if exertion is the Viriya is not exerted, and whereas there's too much concentration and following the objects casually, superficially, then also it will disrupt the practice. So these two things, Viriya and Samadhi, concentration has to be balanced. One has got to practice with steady exertion of energy, steadying one's attention, so as to be concurrent with the object, so as to be in line with the concentration. So only when these two things, samadhi and viriya, are in balance, will one be able to cultivate knowledge. And as for sati, mindfulness, it is never in excess. It is always in deficiency. One always needs to be mindful. Out these 5 wholesome states have their own functions. Each has its own function. Now, as for the saddha, the function is to believe, to have faith in things worthy of faith. Then one will come to acceptance and definite decision, because the thing is worthy of faith. Now, as for paññā, the discriminating knowledge about the truth of the matter, that is its function. And the function of viriya is to overcome kilesas by not accepting these impurities. And as for the mindfulness sati, his function is to sink into the moment and deeply connect with whatever arises, continuously follow through. That is the function of mindfulness. And as for samadhi, concentration, to fall calm and collected on the object of observation, so that the mind is stilled and unified. So these are the functions, a function for each of these mental states. Now, if saddha is in excess, then, as already discussed, can lead to blind faith, with less of this investigation, the power of investigation, paññā, so that the two cannot be balanced. So if, on the other hand, if one reasons too much in every aspect, then also one may not come to a definite decision. That also is not balanced, not in harmony. So if one reasons too much, finding out cause and effect, the rationality of things, and if one is thinking about whether this is reasonable or not, and all that. Of course, there are cases which are within the reach of your reasoning power, knowledge. Then, of course, you can come to a decision. But suppose there are things beyond your reasoning power, beyond your knowledge, beyond your wisdom, then you may be weighing this and that, not being able to come to a definite decision, having doubt and uncertainty, because it is beyond your knowledge. So that leads to delusion. One can become deluded by one's own paññā, reasoning power. As is given in this expression, ubhya pakhena santirana mukhena vichikecha vansheti. That is, if one is reasoning, one is prone to reasoning and doubtful of things, weighing this way and that way, being wavering this way and that way, not being able to come to a decision, then one may think, one may consider that one's reasoning power is one's knowledge. One can be deluded into thinking that this is knowledge. Actually, you are reasoning and not being able to come to a decision. You are only deluded by your own power of reasoning, so that you can never reach the truth of the matter. Therefore, this reasoning, too much reasoning without coming to the decision, can lead to skeptical doubt, and this will be a great hindrance in the practice of meditation. The fourth cause for the cultivation or possession of knowledge is duppenya pogala parivachana. Vipassana means weak or lack of knowledge, unwise, Pokala person, and Parivrajana, abstain, avoid in all aspects. Now, if one has not attained even the stage of the fleeting momentary nature of experience, the fast arising and passing, knowledge of the fast arising and passing away of objects, Udiyabhya Jnana, such person is not included in the list of wise people. So one must avoid such persons. That means avoid means not to be led by such persons, not to take refuge in such persons as your teachers. Then you can be misled. However, you can associate with as friends, but not as teacher or leader. You should avoid such people as teachers. This is cause for the cultivation of knowledge. But there have been many cases in the world suffering as a result of being misled by these religious, so-called religious leaders because of lack of panya. The fifth cause for the possession of knowledge is panya vanta pukala sevana. One must associate with the wise. Panya vanta, the one who possesses panya. Now, one must associate with the wise. That is what is meant. Now, what is a wise person? To what extent should a wise person be? He or she should have cultivated at least the Udiyabhya Jnana, the fleeting momentary nature of experience, seeing the fleeting of psychophysical phenomena. This is known as Panya Vanta. Such persons one should associate with such persons, or take refuge in such persons, or regard them as your teachers. Since such person has known this knowledge, he or she can relay this knowledge and experience to the disciples, to the faithful followers. And in this way, one should have this minimum knowledge of Udiyabhya Jnana, that is Panya Vanta, not to mention those with higher insight knowledge. If one associates with a person lower than your status, then of course you will not get any gain out of it. And if you associate with your peers, then also it won't make any difference. Only when you are able to associate with a higher person, a person with higher knowledge, will you be able to gain knowledge. That is quite realistic. At this point, there's one point to be very careful. That is, in this era, in these days, this Vipassana insight meditation is very prevalent, well known, and very popular throughout the world. And accordingly, there are many kinds of teachers. And people go to this teacher, that teacher, get all sorts of teachings, lots of them, a variety of them. They approach these note teachers who has only notes. And one has to be very careful when one associates or takes refuge in such teachers. If that, instead of taking refuge or depending on the teachers who has at least attained this Udiyabhya Jnana in terms of insight knowledge, if one goes to a teacher who teaches only from notes, then one can be misled. This has to be very careful about such teachers. This Vipassana Panya, insight knowledge, is something to be gained with empirical, one's own practical personal experience. It is pragmatic. It is not like other things, other learning, learning of arts, and so on, which is more or less theoretical. First of all, one must learn the correct method. This is learning aspect, pariyati, learning of the scriptures, relevant scriptures. And then as regards the practical experience, one must have done the practice in order at least to realize the Surya Jnana. Then such teachers can teach. However, if a teacher has not possessed such theoretical and practical qualifications, then it will not be in accordance with what has been given in the text. So we have to be very careful about this. This learning correct method is just the aspect of theoretical aspect, pariyati only. So if one does not know the correct practice, one has to undertake the practice. Therefore, one has got to approach the reliable teacher, spiritual friend, in order to understand the correct method. Then, this ignorance of correct method will be overcome with knowledge. That means you come to know the correct method. And then approach a spiritual friend, Kalyana Metta, who has this knowledge both from the theoretical and practical aspects of Satipatthana. Then you'll be able to know the method of practice. Then by practicing, you will overcome this lack of practice or lack of knowledge due to practice. So you can be mindful and be aware of things, the knowable things. What are these knowable things? Knowable things are the discernment of mind and body and their conditionality and the universal characteristics, inside knowledge by stages. These are the things which should be known through practice. And if you don't know them, you practice and overcome this ignorance. So unawareness leads to attachment or clinging to views, wrong views, and awareness leads to freedom from clinging. That means you will be able to cultivate knowledge up to the stage of the realization of the ultimate peace. So if one is not mindful, one does not practice, then one will not know that is ignorance. This should be overcome with the practice of mindfulness. Deepening concentration, deepening your mind, noting mind, and then deepening your concentration. In this way, you can overcome this ignorance about practice. The sixth cause for the possession of knowledge is Gambhira Jnana Sriya Pachupatana. Gambhira Jnana Sriya. That means Gambhira is a deep, profound knowledge, such as the knowledge of the Four Noble Truths, or this knowledge of Khanda aggregates, ayatana basis, or this practice of Satipatthana, Vipassana, or the Paticca the doctrine of dependent origination or interdependent arising. And these are things to be learned, the field of learning, Jnanasriya. These things must be reflected upon. So this can be done with the practice of mindfulness, sinking your noting mind with the present, sinking into the present, deeply connecting with whatever arises, beginning with the main object of rising and falling, and applying this Viriya Sati Samadhi, and if you are bound to cultivate knowledge, you don't have to do it. You don't have to cultivate purposely. Knowledge will arise as a result of this Viriya Sati Samadhi. So this is investigation or reflection with your. This is our reflection, which is cause for knowledge. Let us say, we can say that the yogis are fulfilled with these factors because in the beginning they came here with the love of the Dhamma, cherishing the Dhamma, the profound Dhamma, not ordinary Dhamma. And they have undertaken the profound practice of Satipatthana, approaching the spiritual teachers, and also having read the relevant profound literatures. So from the theoretical aspect, they are said to be fulfilled with this Gambhira Jnana Sriya Vichavekana. That means reflection of the deep, profound aspect of theoretical knowledge. And then with the practice also, they are daily listening to the talks, the profound talks on Satipatthana, and then the daily reporting at interviews, discussion with the meditation teachers, so that they are guided. So in this way, they are practicing, they are fulfilled. With the practice, they are fulfilled with this factor. They should rejoice over this. And the last one is Tadati Modata. That is, one must be inclined towards the realization of the investigation of state, the enlightenment factor of the investigation of states, Dhamma, Vijja, Sambojjhanga. With the practice of Satipatthana, every time in all postures, whether they are sitting, lying, standing, walking, except the time when they are fast asleep, their mind is inclined towards the cultivation of knowledge, seeing true nature of the things noted. In this way, they are all full-time occupied with this and nothing else. So even to the extent of bending, stretching, all bodily movement, lifting, moving, breathing, and even to the extent of opening and closing of eyes. In all this bodily movement, they are able to deepen their concentration, to deepen their connection with the objects, whatever objects they arise, so as to see into the true nature of things and nothing else. So their practice of Satipatthana is with the priority of cultivating knowledge. Hence, this Tadati Modata, this last factor, namely inclination towards this investigation of states, is said to be possessed by these yogis. In the body are the minute details which conduces to deep knowledge, things to be reflected upon, things to be known, worthy of knowing. Let us say this winking of the eyes. Now if you keep your eye open for a long time, you feel tensed, uncomfortable, and if you are careful about this, if you are mindful of this, you are bound to know the stiffness and discomfort which make up this dukkha satya, the truth of suffering, in terms of the Four Noble Truth. If one is not mindful, one will not be able to see these things and they realize or understand this dukkha satya, because dukkha satya is to be fully understood. That is the maxim. Now, if you are not aware of this truth of suffering, then it'll amount to dukkha aññana. That means not knowing the truth of suffering, because you are not mindful. And if you are able to take care or the note, even the minute details such as this winking and closing and opening of the eyes, then with the inclination that I will see things in the true, see into the true nature of things, then you're bound to see these minute details such as stiffness, tension, discomfort, and this is discriminating knowledge. Then this will lead to dukkha jnana, that is knowing the truth of suffering. This is knowledge. Now, you are inclined upon this mindful of every arising in order to see the true nature of things, not to miss even trifle matters. If you miss them, if you miss, these are small things, why should I note? Let me skip over it. If you have that inclination, then there will be a lot of aññana, this lack of knowledge or ignorance. This will pile up into thick amount of ignorance. then your mindfulness will not be continuous. There will be a lot of distraction, and you will not be clear about your practice. So, when you feel discomfort in your eyes, while you're keeping the eyes open for some time, stiffness, rigidity, tense, and discomfort, then your mind also feels this discomfort. There's some sort of a feeling of emotion. Then you wink, you close your eye, and then you're aware of that. You're aware of the intention. By being mindful, by being careful about this, by being mindful, by paying attention. So you're mindful of this intention to close the eye. So if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention, then there will be ignorance, not knowing the intention, which is dukkha satya, truth of suffering. You are not knowing the dukkha, the truth of suffering, which should be fully understood. And this will amount to dukkha ajnanam, not knowing the truth of suffering. Instead, if you are paying attention, deeply connecting with the object as it arises, in this case the intention to close your eye, then this will amount to dukkha jnanam, knowing the truth of suffering, which is in accordance with with what you should do with the Four Noble Truths. That is, the truth of suffering is to be fully understood. So you are understanding the truth of suffering by being mindful and becoming aware of the intention and the closing of the eye and feeling comfortable. You feel relaxed. So when it was tensed, you feel discomfort. Now you feel comfortable because you're relaxed, because you close the eye. So this comfortable feeling also will be known if you're mindful. So in this way, you are also aware of the stiffness, that is, knowing the suffering and knowing the intention to close the eyes. Now when there's stiffness, discomfort, this is dukkha vedana, unpleasant sensation. When you close the eye, you become relaxed, comfortable. This is sukha vedana, pleasant sensation. So all these things are to be known. They are all truth of suffering, but to be fully understood. So these things are the deep states of mind, profound states, profound things which are to be known, to cultivate knowledge, and not to miss them, not to overlook them as being trifle. Instead, you must be inclined towards cultivating knowledge, seeing things, seeing into the truth of the matter. So in this way you should be inclined to the cultivation of knowledge, even to minute details. Then, with continued mindfulness, your insight is bound to progress and multiply until you are able to reach the maturity of the practice and realize the ultimate peace. And this has been given, these factors have been given in the commentaries as causes for the cultivation of knowledge. They are all 7 in all, and this has been explained both from the theoretical and practical aspects. And you can just judge, verify with yourself to what extent you are fulfilled with, and you will come to know how much you know and how much you don't know, or how much you have practiced and how much you have not possessed. So these are the 7 things which can conduce to knowledge, and then if you are fulfilled with that, you will be assured of satisfying life and be happy and will not be able to flinch from the practice of meditation. And this is his exhortation. And with this we can conclude today's talk. Today's talk.